Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content I've been putting up, be sure to subscribe so you always know when a new video pops up. Now that we got that part out of the way, let's get into the video. Final Fantasy XIV is a massive game with thousands of hours of content. What I'm going to do here is break down some of the major plot points for those of you who want to know more about Eorzea, but may not have time to experience it all firsthand. This time, we're covering the 5th part of our MSQ recap for Shadowbringers. Even though the Exarch wants the people of the Crystarium to lead the mission to rescue Minfilia, that doesn't mean you can't help out. It just means that you have to join the guard and follow Lena's orders. And the first thing you'll need are some uniforms, which Catalyst is happy to take your measurements for. When she's done taking the measurements of you and the twins, she gets to work on resizing some of the uniforms while Lena lets you know what the mission is. Soldiers will fly some Amuro above the battlefield and drop this substance called Dream Powder so it can knock out enough Eomoran soldiers to even the odds. Once that's done, a special group of soldiers will break into the fortress to rescue the Oracle. That unit will be made up of you, Alice, Alphino, and Lena. Your group will split up and hit the area from two sides. The twins will take one side, and you and Lena the other. But first you all have to see Chesamil to get a potion that'll make you immune to the Dream Powder. The stuff is so bitter that she wants you to drink it in front of her, so that way if it makes you sick, you're already in the hospital. With that done, you head out to Lakeland to get ready for the attack. There are a lot of Eomorans escorting Minfilia to their ship, and when they see the handful of Crystarium soldiers flying overhead, they hardly think of them as a threat, until the Dream Powder starts putting them to sleep. Then it's time for you and the others to make your move. The powder brought down a lot of the soldiers, but there are still plenty to stand in your way. You, Lena, and the twins fight your way through until you find Minfilia. Once you've freed her, you go to leave, but Ranjit is there blocking your path, so you finally get to see what the Exarch meant when he said that the man was dangerous. And it doesn't take long for him to bring down the twins and Minfilia, who unlike the one you remember, can actually fight. You're forced to fight him one-on-one, and while you can hold your own for a while, his experience along with his strange techniques gives him the upper hand on you too. He plans on taking you all back to Eomoran, especially Alphino, who he knows is the artist that Valtteri wants so badly. But Thancred shows up and jumps into the fight, sporting his new look as a gunbreaker. He's severely outmatched by Ranjit, who, now that he knows that Thancred was the one who freed Minfilia from Eomoran in the first place, he fully plans on killing. But using a device that the Exarch gave him for just this occasion, Thancred teleports you all a good distance away. Ranjit goes to jump after you all, but the Exarch traps him in place for long enough for you all to enter a place that not even the Eomorans go, the Faerie kingdom of Ilmeg. While you make your escape, a strange man looks down at the scene, wondering just how the Exarch managed to summon you to the first. He's not happy that you're there, but your presence makes him think that maybe, just maybe, he can accomplish his plans, whatever they are, without any bloodshed. You all make it to the Faerie kingdom, which was once the land of Obert, until the Sin Eaters wiped it out. Thancred finally gets to tell you how good it is to see you all again after 5 years, and he gets to fuss at Minfilia for running off and getting captured. He had been planning a rescue of his own when the Exarch told him of his own plan and gave him the order to get you all to Ilmeg if things went bad. Eorzea has been living there for a while, and Thancred and Minfilia have visited him a few times. The Exarch wants the two of them to take you to Eorzea, then, together you all deal with the Light Warden that's in the area. It's a good plan, but first Alice wants to know what made Minfilia run off in the first place. Apparently it was because she sensed you. She knew that she had to meet you, but with the Eomorans being in Lakeland, she doubted Thancred would have let her go. Something he points out would have saved her from getting captured and having Ranjit on their tail. That's why children shouldn't be in charge of making major decisions. They never look at the big picture and end up causing more problems than they solve. While he's yelling at her, you all start to hear voices from things in the area that you can't see. That brief moment of distraction gave the Pixies a chance to catch you all in a spell and make Thancred and Minfilia both forget how to get to Eorzea's house. The Pixies are one of the Fae folk that live in Ilmeg, and they spend a lot of time casting illusions and playing pranks on people. And once they have you, the only way to get free is if they let you. They seem to want to play with you all, so they should let you find their village, so you all head to Lita Laran. The place seems empty, but Thancred knows a strangely shaped plant that lets you see the Pixies if you look through it, so he sends you to find a piece with a warning. Don't respond to the Pixies at all if you hear them talk to you. Otherwise, they'll do a lot of unpleasant things to you. With the Looking Glass, Thancred uses a trick Eorzea showed him to spot the pixies. Since they've been seen, they all reveal themselves. There's a lot of the troublesome things, and they all want you to play with them, but you don't have the time. You need them to lift their spell so you can go to Eorzea and keep things moving. They agree to do it, if you help them with a few chores, like watering their leaf men, which are actually real men they turned into shrubs, and other stuff like that. But even after you finish a few of their tasks, they still refuse to let you leave. They don't actually plan on ever letting any of you go. It's extremely childish, but since the pixies are born from the souls of dead children, it makes sense. So the only way you'll ever be allowed to leave before you get old and die is if you find a pixie that's willing to work with you. That finally makes you remember the pixie Faerie who you made a pact with when you first got to the Crystarium. You give Faerie a call, and he's not in the least bit happy that you waited so long to call. After you do a bit of begging, Faerie shows up and yells at you for waiting so long to give him a call. Hearing you get yelled at reminds Alphinaud of his childhood, which he's dumb enough to say out loud next to Eorzea, who starts to choke him. Since you begged, Faerie orders the other pixies to leave you all alone because you and your friends are there for his amusement, and if they don't let you go, Faerie plans on dumping all of your items all over their village. That horrifies you as much as it does the pixies, and they decide to let you all go as long as they can keep the twins, at least until you come back from Eorzea's. Now that you've made a deal, they remove their spell and you get to witness the true beauty of Ilmeg, and the memories of the way to Eorzea's house come back. The house is big, which means Eorzea probably spent a lot of time clicking on the plot hoping to get it before anyone else, and like Thancred, he's changed jobs during his time on the first. He expected you to show up, but he expected it a little bit later. He has a lot he wants to talk to you about, but first Thancred sends Minfilia outside to imbue some bullets with ether for him while you explain what you've been doing since you arrived on the first. After you get him caught up, he gives you the details of what he saw when he crossed over. The Eorzeans and the Domans were fighting the Garleans so well that they forced them to retreat. With no other choice, the Empire used its bioweapon, Black Rose. It was even more potent than they thought, and not only did it kill their enemies, but it wreaked havoc all across the Empire too. So many died that nations were no longer able to sustain themselves. The world fell into chaos, but even worse, Black Rose caused the land itself to die. Famine spread and the survivors became more savage, fighting for their very lives. And all of the heroes who could have helped bring order to the chaos died, including the Warrior of Light. The 8th calamity would be the worst in history, which is why it has to be stopped at all cost. Eorzea has been studying, trying to figure out just why Black Rose was so much more powerful than it should have been, and he's figured it out. Astro Ether, or the Ether of Darkness, is the ether associated with growth and life, while Umbral Ether, the Ether of Light, is focused on peace, balance, and stability. Life is chaotic, which is why things grow and change. With Umbral Ether flowing from the first to the source, it's slowing the movement of the ether of the land. Black Rose does the same thing to living people, so the merger of the massive amount of light ether to the source at the same time Black Rose is unleashed would cause unmatched devastation. Which means you need to save the first, so the Light Warden of Ilmeg has to go. Eorzea found that too. It's in the castle in the middle of the lake. Unfortunately, to get in there, you'll need the help of the pixies. Good news is, Eorzea knows how to deal with them, so he'll be joining you. To get their help, you'll need a gift which he helps you put together, but he has one last surprise for you. He's crafted another piece of white auracite, just in case the Ascians try to stop you. Since they're definitely behind the rejoining, that's probably gonna happen. Minfilia finally completes her task for Thancred, which is good since he still can't manipulate ether. Gunbreakers use ether-filled ammo to perform their more flashy techniques, so it's kinda mandatory that he has the bullets made. Minfilia has a talent for making them, so it's all good. Since you won't be coming back to Eorzea's house for a while, he tells Minfilia that she can pick a book to bring with her, something she happily runs off to do. They keep sending the girl out of the room while they talk about the important things, something I hated when I was a kid. And this time, Thancred tells you of his last conversation with your Minfilia. After he saved the young Minfilia from Yulmore, they went to Amarang where the flood was stopped, and the original Minfilia took over the young girl's body. Thancred begged her to tell him how to bring her back, but now she's basically an Ascian using the young girl as a vessel, and she's been using each Minfilia to spread the message of Hydaelyn across the First, and she's caused each one of them to die, never having a life of their own, and she can't do it anymore. The only way that she'll do it again is if her newest vessel decides to let her take over, but if the girl wants her own life, Minfilia will give her all of her power, including what she's been using to come back to life. She'll be gone for good, but the girl will eventually be as powerful as Minfilia had become. Thancred doesn't want her to go, of course, but the choice is up to the child, and as a last request, Minfilia asks Thancred to watch over the girl just like he did for her. And of course he'll do it, which is why he's been teaching the girl everything he can. The young Minfilia doesn't remember the event, and while Thancred has told her a lot, he hasn't told her about that day. And right now, there's other things to take care of, so you head back to the Pixie village where the twins have been put through who knows what while you were gone. The Pixies aren't happy that you're about to take the twins from them, but they do love their gifts. And as part of Fae custom, since you gave them a gift, they have to give you one thing that you want. And what you want is to get into the castle. The Pixies think you're going to die, but of course they'll help just so they can watch the Light Warden kill you, especially since that Warden is their king, Titania. Titania had fought the first Light Warden that had attacked the Pixies, and won. But the light that came out of it turned Titania into the new Warden, so the other Pixies sealed the castle with Titania inside. They divided the seal for the magic into 4 relics and split them among the different Fae people. They give you their relic, but you'll need the shell crown from the Fuath, the stone scepter from the Numo, and the crystal shoes from the Amuro. So it's off to the lake to try to get the crown. Apparently if you call the Fuath at the Untouchable Gate, they'll show up to talk. But they take so long to answer that Alice thinks it may be a good idea to search the lake for them since they are water spirits. That's not really a problem since both you and Alice have the Kojin underwater breathing blessing, and Thancred, who can hold his breath for 10 minutes, already taught Minfilia how to swim. Alphinaud has been practicing, which means he sucks slightly less than he did before, but surprisingly Urianger can't swim and would prefer to just walk across the water because learning how to do that was a better way to spend his time than just learning how to swim. But leave it to Urianger to complicate the simplest of things. Fortunately, the Fuath answer before you have to try. When Urianger asks for the crown, they have no problem letting you come get it. But since they haven't had mortal visitors in a while, they want you to come to Don Meg, the Forbidden Realm. If you can make it through and entertain them, then you can have the crown. So it's into Don Meg you go, to play the games of yet another of the Fae people. And that's where we're going to stop for today. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the next part of the story.